Hi, welcome to Once Upon a Stitch Nook, my desk where the creativity happens. We are going to be doing the Cottage Apple vest. I will be doing this as a child size, but it is adaptable to any size. I'm going to be using a weight 3 yarn. In this case, I'm using the Yarn Bee Bambootiful. Keep in mind you can vary up since this is made to measure and it's just based on your initial chain that you make. You can use a lighter yarn, you can use a chunkier yarn. That is entirely up to you. And the hook I am using to pair with this is a 4mm, but again, you can vary that up as well. That is entirely up to you. Now, you can either, our base chain is going to be multiples of 8 plus 2, and what you want to see is the chain that extends across the back of your shoulders. And not quite to the points, not out at the shoulder points, but more within, so where you might want, how to say, so there isn't a curvature over almost like a sleeve at the end, more like those two bone points that stick up. I'm not sure what they're called, but before the full shoulder. So that's the, I'm gonna, and if I'm getting ahead of myself. So if you're doing it for yourself or for a partner, you can of course do that easily, do it for your child, or if you're doing it as a gift for someone, I find it's helpful either to get their measurements from them or a parent or someone if you're doing a child vest like me, or in my case, I got one of the children's shirts from their mother, and I'm using that as my base, which is also very helpful that you can do for yourself or for anyone else. So just to show you the example, I'll place it backwards. It's a t-shirt with a little graphic on it, but it's just a plain t-shirt that they wear that they feel comfortable with. And so when I'm making my chain, I'm going to go about here because I don't want it to go fully here. I want it to be about here in the, sorry, that's going a little out of frame. Because as we kind of come down, and then we're going to build in the sides and build the front. So in my case, I need to chain a multiple of 8. Let me see if I get a good yarn barb here. Lovely. And let me find my end. Here we go. So you're going to chain a multiple of 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And you're going to do as many of those as until you're ready, feel that's a good length for yourself. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. And then once you reach the end of your 8s, just add 2 more chains, that is. All right, so you see how my chain lays out here, and I have plus 2 on here already. The plus 2 are going to be going towards the first row. Now I'm going to go over just briefly with you on how to do the basket stitch for this, because that's all the back panel is going to be without anything complicated. I have a video on that goes over it a little more slowly. This video is a little bit more just for the construction of this garment. So we have our multiples of 8 plus 2. Now in the third chain, and I like to work in the back loop because later we're going to add a trim here. So the third from the chain, as third from the hook, chain, you're going to double crochet into that. I'm working into the back loops, as you can see, instead of the front of the chain. And you're going to double crochet all the way across. So your number of double crochets should match your number of multiples of 8, or in other words, be divisible by 8. All right, here I've done my double crochets all the way across. Yours, if you're doing an adult size, will probably look longer, of course. And now what we're going to do is chain 2 and turn our work. Now we're going to do the start of our basket weave stitch pattern. So what we're going to do is start the first 4 stitches in the front post. So you're going to double crochet into the front post. And briefly, just what that means is that you're going to wrap around from going from front, around, and then through the front again around your double crochet below. Then you're just going to double crochet as regular. So it's just about where you place your hook to start your double crochet. So you're going to do that in the first 4 like this. So you see it's extending those bottom double crochets into looking like a longer stitch. And over the next 4 stitches, you're going to do the opposite. You're going to double crochet in the back post. And what that means is you're going to go from the back around, from the front to the back again. And then you're going to continue to do a double crochet. So you'll do that in the next 4 posts. Again, I have a shorter video, but that just goes over the basket weave stitch pattern, which is exactly this. So you can use that if you need a little more guidance in this and if you're unfamiliar with it, that may help. And so we're going to just have a repeat of that where you do 4 double crochet stitches in the front post and then 4 double crochet stitches in the back post, and you're going to do that all the way across. Okay, I've come to the end here now, so you see we've done the repeat all the way across. And what it does is extending the stitches here up and then creating this weave effect that looks like it's going under I don't know what they're called, but like the wooden segments. And it looks like it's going under and over by creating a horizontal line. So what we're doing now is going to repeat the exact same row. It's going to look a little different, but it's the same thing. You chain 2, turn your work, and now you already have this extension going. You're going to double crochet in the front post again. You're going to start the row the same way you did the last one. So double crochet over the next 4, and now it becomes very easy that you don't have to count because it'll become very evident based on the segments. So we do double crochet over in the front post over the first 4, and over the next 4 we're doing back double crochets again in the back post. And then and so you see we're now getting these 2 extension lines here that are creating these ridges, and now this section is even longer. And you're just going to repeat it once again, 4 front post double crochets and 4 back post double crochets all the way to the end. All right, and here you can see how the stitch is developing. You're going to chain 2, turn your work, and now over the next 2 rows, we're going to basically just swap the order. So instead of doing front post again, we now are going to do back post double crochets over the first 4 stitches. Because otherwise you would just get this, which would be an interesting look, honestly. You would just get this being extended and this one constantly doing the horizontal lines. But you want to swap which sections are getting extended and then which are going horizontal. Oh, I'm sorry. And then the next 4, of course, you do front post double crochets. And then that's going to be the repeat. So you see now this is extending, whereas now we're getting the horizontal lines here. So you're just going to keep swapping them, and you do the same repeat for 2 rows. Then you're going to swap the order and do the repeat for 2 rows. And that is the whole pattern to it. It's very simple, very easy. You'll get a sense for it by just watching the pattern build up. But yeah, so this is 1, 2, 3, 4, the 4th row on this, or the 3rd row of the repeat section. And then we're going to do one more, which is just going to be the repeat of this exact row. All right, here we are. And then you're going to chain 2, turn your work, and we're going to do it one more time, starting for double crochets in the back post over the first 4. Oops. There we go. And then the next 4 will be double crochets in the front post. And repeat that all the way across. So you're going to see these are the chunks that you're going to have, and they're just going to keep flip-flopping essentially. So go ahead and repeat this pattern, and then you're going to repeat rows 2 through, hold on, 2, 3, 4, 5, 2 through 5, or if you want to exclude thinking about the first double crochet row, which was just the establishing row, then you're going to repeat these 4 rows, where you start front post double crochet for the first two, and then you're going to swap and start with front post in the back. I'm sorry, double crochet in the back post for the first four. Okay, I have worked up the repeat pattern up until I'm ready for, or roughly what I'm ready for will be the armhole length in the back, that is. I'm taking into consideration that I'm going to have a few rows that are going to be going over the shoulders here. So you want to end on either the second or fourth row of the repeat section that we've been doing. So here I have ended on doing in the back post double crochets. And so from here, what we're going to do, since you can make this as long as you want, you can make your armholes longer if you'd like, but we're going to section off what we want for our neck opening and the shoulder width. Can either be an odd or even number, but if you're doing an odd number, just keep in mind that the repeats starts may be off, and you're going to have to pay attention to the previous row to know which ones to do. I am going to do an odd number, so I'll show you how that looks. All right, so I am going to mark off 3 sections, so how we kind of have them in these little blocks, or for a 12 stitches. So you're going to want to mark out a count of 4 for a 12 from the edges. So I'm just marking that out so you can see. Since mine's very short, I wouldn't necessarily need to do that. It's very easy to keep track, but that's always handy to have. So I'll get this shirt out of the way. I'll bring you down. And we're going to turn our work, and we're going to start working towards the marker. So you're going to chain 2 as usual, and then continue as usual. Then you're going to go into next row repeat of your pattern. So here I have the full front post section. Now I'm going to do back post double crochets. So just paying attention to what rows I did before to inform me what my start row will now be. So I'm going to continue pattern as usual until I meet my marker. So just for 12 stitches, I'm now working in the front post double crochets, and then I'll do my last 4 stitches in the back post up until the marker. And this will line out what will be my shoulder length. Or I'm sorry, shoulder width. We're going to be building up our length. So here you see I've worked it up, and so I'm going to be building off here. So I simply turn my work, chain 2, and then I'm going to work the pattern back. Now, if you recall before that the 2 repeat sections would always start the same. So here we did a back post double crochet. Usually if you worked it in an even number of 8s, so if you do have 4 or an even number, that's going to be the case. But if you have an odd number, you need to pay attention to what's below. So I wouldn't do a back post double crochet here because this needs to be extended. So I'm going to do front post double crochet and then repeat the pattern of just interchanging every 4 stitches in the back post and front post. Now, you're going to want to extend your shoulders an even number of rounds, so you can either just finish it here at 2, or if you want to keep going, you can do 4, 6, or 8 rows. I'm not having luck with this one. There we go. For your shoulders, and then when you're ready to start your V-neck increasing, I will pick up with you to do that. I think I'll do 2 more rows for this vest. All right, I've done my 4 rows. You should end at the edge of your work. And now what we're going to do is do the V-neck increases. And so the objective here is you want to add in these marked out clusters or stitches. So if we consider these as clusters, I have 6 clusters I'm going to have to add, so 3 on each side, or for a 12 stitches on each side. In my case, yours will look different if you're having a different size, and you're going to be increasing 4 over 4 rows. So I'll show you how that looks. So let's turn our work, chain 2, and you're going to work regular repeating your pattern. So here you see I've finished my front post section on this side. Now I'm going to do back post and then continue the pattern as usual all the way across. All right, I've worked all the way across as usual. And now what we're going to do is you're going to see that chain 2 that we usually ignore. We're now going to utilize that. So we're going to be working into that. Now you're going to work into it based on what, if you were to add on a section here, the 4 stitch section, what would the next one be? Since I just worked back post, I'm going to work it in front post and treating it as a double crochet. So I'm going to work from the front around to the front again twice. So double crochet that way, chain 2, turn my work, and then I'm going to treat this just without any increases, but keeping in mind that in this case the 2 increased stitches. So, and it helps to look ahead at the next 4 stitches. What are they? They are front posts, so I'm going to treat these as back posts. So I'm going to do 2 back post double crochets, and then 4 front post double crochets, and then repeat the pattern as usual all the way to the end. Okay, I worked back, I turned my work and chain 2 already. Sorry. Let me lay that a little better. And now continue working in the pattern. So I'm going to start here since we're doing the next 2 repeats. I'm going to do front post double crochets, and I'm going to work all the stitches following in the pattern format. Okay, I've ended on those last 2. I've worked them in the back post since it's just following in the pattern, and I've worked 2. Now we're going to increase 2 to make this a full 4 stitch section. And so we're going to work it in the back post of the, what's it called, the chain 2. So you're working from the back and working around it like you would a double crochet, and you're going to work 2 around it. So you see how it's extending that horizontal line, and we now have 4 increased stitches. So we've done a full increase, and just the last row, we're going to chain 2, turn our work, and work across as usual. And this will be the repeat for how you do your increases until you have the number of increases you need for the your one side panel. So in this case, I need to do 8 more increases. So I'm going to need 8 rows more to match the half point here that I need. So I already have this section added, and I need 2 more. And then we're going to add these sections on this side panel. So go ahead and repeat these until you have your increases. All right, so you can see here, I've done my increases. So you can kind of see 1, 2, 3, 4, 8, 12 stitches. And then if I pull it here, you can start to see how it's making the V neck line here and developing the armhole here. Now, this will be about the point likely you want to get ready to connect your armhole. If you want to make it longer, you can start just building off your band here, and the only note there is you're going to want to end the same way we're about to end. So here we've been repeating the 2 or 4 sections that you want to end when you've completed a repeat round, which is 2 rows, and then the next 2 rows is the full repeat for the interchanging sections, but you just need to make sure you end on a 2 repeat. But when you're ready to prepare your first panel for connecting the sleeves, we want to end on the V-neck edge. And all that means is we're going to work across it as usual. So I will do that and then show you real quick. All right, so you see I've ended on the row here, so it's half of the repeat section, and you'll see how that ties into things later. So for this section, that's where we're going to leave it, and we'll see how when we finish, you're going to attach your yarn at the edge here, and then repeat this entire section up until this point where you end on the V-neck. So you're going to work up the exact same section as we've just done, and then I'll pick up with you there. All right, I'm needing to make an edit here, so I'm not sure how smoothly this clip will go with the previous one, but just to note, I've finished my 3 extensions of my 3 chunks, or my 12 stitches has now been added, and then we're going to add the other ones on the second panel. And so I ended on my repeat for the extensions here. Now this is usually where you're ready to connect your armhole. But if you are not, if your back panel is longer or for whatever reason, and it'll extend a little further due to you gave it some 3-dimension with the shoulder length, that's fine, that's good. But if you need to go longer, you would just be working up straight rows here, and you just want to end here to connect your armhole. So what we're going to do to connect the armhole at this point is simply you're going to chain a multiple of an odd count of 4. Since this is a child's, I don't need much room, but if you have bigger arms, or if you need it to space out further for your bust, if this is for an adult, you can do that. But so you do either like 4 or for 12, or you know, you can go on, but I think that would be very large. So really just kind of depends what suits you. Check it against yourself, and it's easy to check and adjust. And you're going to bring the ends here. You're going to slip stitch into that first stitch here at the edge, or around that chain 2. You're going to cut your yarn with a bit of a tail and secure that well. And you can leave some of it out if you want to work over it later, that's fine, but just make sure it's secured well and that will not be coming undone. You can knot it, do whatever you like. I'm just going to secure it so it won't fall out for the sake of the tutorial. And so here we have our connection. And so you see we are done there. We don't have any active yarn. You're going to attach to your edge here, work up the exact same thing as you did here. Any adjustments you did, the exact rows you're going to do, and then you're going to connect in the same way, and then we will start again building off, and we'll be working it all flat. But together all the panels will be connected. All right, so I have my connected panels together, so it's all one cute piece now. And now what we're going to do is pick up, I guess you can do it fairly arbitrarily. I shall pick up here, I think. You're going to join your yarn at one of your panels. So I'm joining it there, and then I shall chain 2 as usual. And then we are going to now repeat our just regular, like just as in the back panel instructions. In this case, I will start this row off, start the repeat with a back post. Again, yours may start with a front post. Just pay attention to your previous rows. I always like to look, if there look to be 3 extensions happening here, and if I have, definitely if I have the 2 horizontal lines. You don't want 3 horizontal lines, you don't want 1. So that informs you when it's time to change the pattern. So I'm just going to now work back and forth with the 3 to 5 rows from the back panel, or if you just consider it the repeat section, the 1 to 4 rows alternating. And you're going to do that all the way until you have the length you want. If you want it cropped or if you want it long, that is up to you. Now, the only caveat for this first row is when we get to the armholes, and I'll show you how to do that. All right, now once I've done my front panel and I've reached the chain 4 row, for the start, I'm just going to double crochet 4 into it. So regardless of how it will repeat and then the next row will help define which row it would be. So it would be a back post, but there isn't any post to work into, so that's fine. And then here we go into front post for connecting to the back panel, and then you'll go and do the same thing for the other side. And from here, you're just going to treat it as regular rows, and just acknowledge, yes, these rows are upside down because that's where we start in the back, but it works out all the same. All right, I have extended it as far as I want it to be. Oops. So here you see I've just been going back and forth. I'll turn it upside down, working my way up, just repeating the repeat section. And so I now have it at the length that I like. And for the last row of the main color, we're just going to chain one, turn our work, and single crochet across. All right, and here I am at the end. So I'm just going to snip off some yarn, secure it, and I'll work over it later. Okay. Now I'm going to bring in my trim color. You can leave it as is if you like just the, well, rather I wouldn't suggest that since we have kind of these raw edges along here. I think it's a good idea to trim it. So if you want it all solid, I would trim it with this main color, but I like to use a contrast color for the trim. So you're going to join it anywhere along the bottom. I'm going to do it a little bit before the corner. Join my yarn, chain one, and then we're just going to single crochet around. We're going to single crochet all the way around the garment. We'll meet up back here, and all you're going to note is when you meet the corners, which I think should just be two in this case. I'm trying to work into it now. You're going to single crochet 3. So 1, 2, and 3. And then I'm just going to single crochet my way along until the next corner. So you'll go ahead and do that all the way around your garment. All right, here we are. It's looking so cute. It's looking like a little woody vest. So this would actually be really nice for a little woody costume, handmade costume. That'd be adorable. So now what we're going to do is add a little trim around the, what are they called? The armholes, just to round it out. So that's simple enough. You can join at any point, right side facing. I'm going to go under the armholes since I think that'll hide it better for the join. Attach my yarn, and we're going to do the same thing. We're just going to chain one and then single crochet all the way around. So go ahead and do that on both sides. Okay, so it is looking lovely. I am so excited about it. Okay, and now you're basically, well, okay, we're nearly, well, you could be done here, or you can go in and add just your ties here. But what I'm going to show real quick is we're going to make an optional pocket. You can make 1 or 2, and the width will be depending on you and how much of it you want to take up the space. For this vest, I'm thinking I want about 4. It's of course going to be a count of 4 again, and I'm going to make it about this big. So I'm going to have 4 counts of 4. So I'm going to chain that. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Then I'll chain an extra 2 to start my row, and we're basically going to go back and repeat the same thing we did to start or start it on the back, that is. So you'll do starting in the second from your, I'm sorry, the third away from your chain, from your hook, the third chain away from your hook. You are going to double crochet, and I'm going to do it in the back loops, and I'm going to do that all the way across. Then I'm going to do the repeat pattern up until however high I want it. I'm going to try to go for a roughly square, maybe a little longer in height pocket. We will see. But that's very simple, and the instructions, you would just go back to the beginning, how we started our back section, and work it up for however long you want it to be. So that's entirely up to you how long you want it widthwise and lengthwise. So go ahead and do that, and I'll pick up with you when we're ready to do the next step. Okay, so here I am. It is small, but I have a small little vest. So I've done exactly 4 chunks, so it's a beautiful square. And what I'm going to do now is at the end, I'm going to chain 1, and I'm going to single crochet all the way around by doing 2 or 3 in each corner, and just going to single crochet all the way around and then join. And then we'll talk about an optional trim color in a minute if that is something you'd like to do. All right, we have a nice clean square pocket now, so I'm going to move that aside. And now you can add a trim if you'd like, and you can do that a few different ways. You can go all the way around, you can just put it at the top, which is cute. What I'm going to do is I'm going to be going around the sides, bottom, and top, and leave the top just brown, so it kind of flows in. And you'll see with a little added detail also how that'll look. But so all I'm going to do is join at the corner, the top, let's see, left side corner. I'm going to join my trim color, chain 1, and then just crochet all the way around, of course doing 1 or 2 single crochets in the corners. Or what you can do is single crochet, chain 1 single crochet as well if you want to get a little more pointy. That is up to you. So I'm just going to do that all the way around, and then we will apply our pocket. Okay, we have an adorable pocket, and you can do 2 if you'd like. I'm just going to do 1. So before I left, by the way, I left some, a good enough tail that hopefully is enough to sew the pocket on. But before I do that, an extra detail you can add, since this is the Cottage apple vest, is you'd use the apple applique tutorial to make some apples. You can do whichever versions you'd like. I have a sliced open one and then 2 regular ones. I think I'm going to do these 2, and I'm going to just sew them on here so to give you kind of a look there. I'm going to do a little overlap. That way, I kind of thought this should be a brown stem, but the brown stem wasn't showing up on this one. So I think they'll be fine together. Hopefully, maybe I'll change that later. But I'm going to sew that on, and then I'm going to sew down the pocket, and we're nearly done. And here we are, we have our pocket sewn on. It's looking cute. And here you can end your project if you like it loose like this. I'm going to give a quick demonstration for how you can add a extra length to add a button band to this if you would like. I'm going to pull in the green to pull in from my green apple into this. And where I'm going to start doesn't much matter, but I'll start close to where I want my button band to open. So I'm going to start up here. So I'm just going to join my yarn as we've been doing, chain one, and then I'm going to start single crocheting around until I reach the point where I want my buttonhole to appear. All right, I'm coming to the end of my V-neck, and I am going to place two buttonholes. In my case, I'm using very small buttons under an inch wide. So I'm just going to chain one and skip one. If you have a larger button, like I dropped something. Say I used this one, I would see how many stitches I need for this to pass through with some resistance. So that's how you would mark out how many chains and skips you need. I'm just going to do one chain and one skip. Then let's see. I'm going to do at least two buttonholes and see how I like that. I'm going to see. Let's see, a button here. I'm going to do maybe 4 or 5 stitches in between. I think 4 is good. Then I'll chain one, skip one, and then I'm going to single crochet all the way around again. And again, just in the corners, you can do 2 to 3 single crochets for those corner edges. So go ahead and do that. And of course, if you want to add a button band all the way along, you can just paste that out, or just do one button. That is entirely up to you. This is an optional trim option. Okay, I've worked all the way around to the beginning again, so I'm going to chain one and single crochet once more all the way around. When you hit your chain one point, you're going to work a single crochet into that chain, but otherwise everything is as usual. You're going to single crochet all the way around, slip stitch to join, and then you can cut your yarn from there. So let's go ahead and do that.